Hello and welcome to Legally Speaking, with me Tarun Nangia, with 4 women judges being elevated to the bench, and their swearing in ceremony happened on December 1 at the Madras High Court. The number of women judges in the Madras High Court has gone up to as high as 11. Now it may sound a bit funny that why I am saying as high as 11, because there is no other court in the country where there are even so many number of women judges. But there is a ray of hope that we are seeing an increasing number of women being elevated to the bench, and to discuss whether this trend will now be replicated in other high courts across the country, I have with me senior advocate Geeta Luthra. I have got Justice Jaspal Singh, Advocate Alkanshri Deher, she is Managing Partner, Law Offices of India, Senior Counsel Monica Arora. Welcome all of you for sparing your time and joining us on this episode of Legally Speaking. With 4 women judges being sworn on December 1 in the Madras High Court, the percentage of women judges in the Madras High Court has grown to almost 18.5%, or 11 women judges out of 60. So the sanction strength in Madras High Court is 75, but currently there are 60 judges, out of which there are 11 women judges. So what happens when more 15 are inducted? The proportion could go even more. I'll take my opening comments from Geeta Luthra. Ma'am, a positive sign?
Absolutely positive sign. I think when we started practice, we would see a very rare woman judge, and we saw Justice Fatima Bibi, I think in 1987, if I'm not mistaken. But
89.
89. So till then, we were waiting. At least the Supreme Court should have at least one figurative woman judge, at least someone. I think it's an encouraging sign, but I think the encouragement should go by leaps and bounds and not at this pace.
We should grow by leaps and bounds. Justice Jaspal Singh, sir, you have been on the bench, and when you see this number of women judges now increase, and how do you contrast when you were a judge in the Delhi High Court to now?
Well, when I was a judge, I think there were only 2 lady judges.
Only 2 lady judges? Only
2 lady judges. And when I was a student of law, I had only 1 girl as a student of law.
That's all?
That's all. She later on flowered into a very good civil lawyer of Delhi, but only 1.
Only 1?
Only 1.
So even students, well, there's a very few women choosing law as a profession.
True. But now they are full, the classes are full of lady lawyers and students also.
Okay.
So it's a very happy sign.
It's a very happy sign. Alkanshri there, your opening comment?
I absolutely second whatever they have said till now. But I would just like to add something a little more. It's since the establishment of the Supreme Court in 1950, we've just had 6 Supreme Court judges who have been ladies. So I think it can be improved much more. It's just that, I mean, the lady judges, I mean, which I feel is like, if you compare it to the rest of the world too, I think India's is at parallel with the rest of the world. Like, for example, in the US Supreme Court, we got the first lady judge, Sandra O'Connor, in 1981. We got our first Supreme Court judge in 1989. So it's just that India is at par with the rest of the world, but like the rest of the world, it can get better.
It can get better. Monica Arora, your opening comment.
I'll say that it's a big leap forward, but miles to go. I remember Justice Leela Seth when she topped the London bar examination. Thereafter, she came to India to practice, and she said it's a Herculean task in India to practice, because she went to join a chamber of a senior advocate, and she was told, why are you here? She said, I'm here to join this profession. Oh, no, it's not good for ladies. Go.
Not good for ladies?
Yes, go do teaching. She said, no. They said, okay, get married. She said, I'm already married. Then the senior advocate said, go have a baby. She said, I already have 1. Oh, have 2 babies. 1 is not enough. She said, I already have 2 babies. Then he said, you are a young, persuasive woman. So come, join the chamber. But once she joined the chamber, and she was reading in her chamber one day, a client came and he scolded the briefing advocate saying, I told you to take me to an advocate and not a lady. So difficulties were there at every step. And once she became the judge also, then also she said, I was always referred to as meet the new lady judge of High Court. She said, my gender is apparent. You don't call the male judges as meet the new man judge.
So you mean
he's simply a judge. So discrimination is
even
there
after
even after becoming judges. She said male judges were hesitant to sit with me in division benches also. So I believe hurdles are there at every step. You come in the practice, there's a hurdle. You become a judge, there's a hurdle. The kind of cases marked to you, there's a hurdle. So there has to be a change in mindset.
A very important point made by Monica Arora. Now, I'm taking this discussion ahead. Vijay Narayana is the Advocate General for the state of Madras. He, in his welcome address, when these 4 lady judges were elevated in their swearing-in ceremony, after that, he pointed out that Madras High Court was the second High Court in the country after the Bombay High Court to have as many as 11 women judges. Even though the Bombay High Court has a much higher working strength of 73 judges in all today, he went on to add that Justice Manjula Chellar is going to retire in this month, which is December. The Madras High Court would achieve the distinction of being the only High Court to have so many women judges. Now, Geeta Luthra, when the Advocate General makes such a point that we have 11 judges and we are best in the country, do you feel sometimes that should I laugh, cry, have remorse? Because in a sense, they have an achievement, but shouldn't we hang our heads in shame that today, you know, it's almost 70 years after independence and our condition is this?
Yes, actually, not only that, you have to also see the ratio of the direct appointee women judges as compared to the ratio of the direct appointee men judges. And I think that ratio you'll find still lower. So, while women can enter the judiciary by giving exams and entering from the lower rungs and working their way solidly till the High Court or the Supreme Court, I think what would be more welcome now that we have such a huge strength of women judges and women lawyers, you have such talent which is awaiting you. Why are we not picking up that talent? And we can't say, which has been a recent remark made by one of the judges, that there were not that many women in the profession, so therefore we cannot have that proportionate representation of women in the judiciary. That's not the answer. And one of the questions that was raised was, well, with scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, you may not have that many, but you are still giving appointments. So the ratio, if you are going to do a positive act of encouraging women's empowerment, even if there were fewer women, even there were fewer women, but there are enough talented women, you may have to pick up a larger proportion in order to give that representation. And that's not just judges. I believe international level, even arbitrators, not India. Internationally, they don't have women arbitrators at in international arbitrations. They don't have women arbitrators in national arbitrations. So I think everywhere we have to work positively to give more representation to women.
Okay. Justice Singh, when I read out the statement by the Advocate General, it's a welcome sign. Do you think we need to run fast now?
Yeah, we have to, but never forget that there has to be merit.
Yes.
It's a very important post. Its entire constitutional rights are dependent upon that. So you cannot merely say that we want to have this number of lady judges, so we must recruit without consideration to merit.
So are you alluding to the fact that this happened in politics and in business? When in politics you had, certain posts were reserved for women. Sometimes you had any politician's wife as being appointed as a candidate for election, or in companies where competent independent directors were to be appointed, you had the promoter's wife being appointed as the independent director. So are you alluding that in judiciary it could achieve another form, where to complete a certain quota we'll have a woman judge appointed without?
You are touching a subject which is very, very, very dangerous.
Yes.
There are talks that appointments are made on different considerations.
Yes.
And she was referring to Justice Leela Seth. We are talking of merit.
Yes.
We had Justice Sunanda Bandare also.
Yes.
And if you compare both of them,
yes,
I dare say that Mrs. Leela Seth delivered only one good thing, and that was Vikram Seth. That's all.
So
don't say that no judge was prepared to sit with her.
yes.
She didn't deliver any judgment worth the name.
So
Merit is most important.
Merit is most important.
And look at Justice Sunanda Bandare coming from political background and proving to be one of our best judges. So we can't say this, that you have this much of number. It's just not like this. Of course, there is a lot of merit now. As I told you earlier, I had only one girl in my classroom.
Yes.
But now a lot of talent. Here is the talent. You are seeing talent here also.
Yes.
But then you have to consider it on merit and merit alone.
That's a strong...
Unfortunately, this is what is not happening today.
It's not happening today.
So I wanted to add that I did say that it should be based on talent, but we have enough talent.
You have
the point that I think I wanted to make was this, that women have to work twice as hard to be considered half as good. And that should change.
You mean that generally comes from patriarchy, so it is inherent within us. I take your point, and since I like to take forward what Geeta Luthra said, that now patriarchy is, we are all from patriarchal societies. I can believe even patriarchy is there in the women panelists that we have, because it is a part of our society.
It's an inherent part of our society.
Part of Indian society. But taking this discussion forward, Geeta Luthra pointed out that there aren't enough women in arbitration. Now you work for a law firm as managing partner of Law Offices of India. Do you see enough women now being part? So we are not only talking of the bench, but even otherwise. Do you see
Absolutely, we don't. I mean, the representation is not as much as it should. Like, for example, in the High Courts in England too, out of which consists of the Chancery and the Family Division and the Queen's Bench, there are 96 justices, and out of that only 21 are ladies.
Yes.
So there's no doubt about it. And even in international arbitration, I mean, it's a rarity. It's a rarity, I mean, I must confess, and which is sad, because like she said, the talent is enormous. It's just that the mindset needs to change, and for that it's going to take some time. But I dare say it's happening now. I see it happening, but not fast enough.
Okay. Now I want you to add, if you have any point to add to what Justice Jaspal Singh said. He said that you should have women judges, but merit and only merit should be criterion, not any urgency to fill up the posts. Do you think that's where we need to be doubly careful? Because they will again say that if a woman judge is elevated and there is any other issue, that it will become a punching bag and people will raise questions. So do you think that now quality should be the criterion and it's very difficult, or do you think that's not an issue?
I have 2 points to make.
Yes.
Firstly, merit has no gender.
Yes.
He is a man, so he is meritorious. It's a default position for him. I don't agree with that. And secondly, sir, I have strong opposition to that remark, saying Justice Leela Seth delivered Vikram Seth and that was the only good thing about her. So many of the male judges haven't even delivered Vikram Seth. Still, there is no merit about them.
Yes.
And we see that day in and day out. So merit has no gender. If a person is meritorious, I say give them equal opportunity. Don't see it's a male or a female. Give them equal opportunity. Secondly, for the women, they have different circumstances.
Yes.
They have to balance between the house also and the work also. They need certain additional, I'll say, facilities at the workplace. Then give a level playing field. And then you see they'll shine. Because they don't spend their time in clubs and partying and lobbying in the evenings.
But one thing I want to add, that if you read, I mean, I'm going to the world of corporate, and Indira Nui, who's heading PepsiCo, said that when women, when women makes a choice, she goes out, she is equal to the man, and she shouldn't be treated any differently because she is competing head-on for the same post.
We understand.
What comment would you like?
I totally understand. But I'll say one more thing. This glass ceiling, how will you break? I'll give you a personal example.
Yes.
I remember in 1993, about 25 years back, when I was asked to be the presidential candidate for Delhi University Students' Union elections.
Yes.
So a senior student organization leader, I just went to thank them.
Yes.
And they said, oh Monica, we did not have an equally good male student leader. Hence we had no choice, but out of compulsion we had to give the ticket to you. And that was disgusting. What he said was, we did not have an equally meritorious male leader. That means if they had an equally meritorious male candidate, they would have given it to them.
Only on the basis of gender.
So basically, even if two persons are of same merit, you see, if he's a male, then the position is tilted towards that person.
So as we can
glass
see,
ceiling and mindset we have.
Glass ceiling and mindset is the issue. Very strong opinions and views coming on this episode of Legally Speaking. On this note, I'll take a short break and I'll be right back. Welcome back. Just before the break, we saw that how our panelists had strong opinions on the subject of women judges. I'll go across to Geeta Luthra. And ma'am, if I may ask you, so it may sound rather odd, but the Supreme Court of India has seen only 6 women judges since its inception in 1950. Isn't that extremely worrying trend, A? At the time when we had most powerful prime ministers, Indira Gandhi or other women leaders like Mayawati, Jayalalitha, and if I may inject a bit of humor into this debate, we saw men prostrating in front of these very powerful men and chief ministers prostrating in front of this very women leaders. So the men actually can't submit to a woman leader is a myth, be it in the judiciary or be it say in politics. Do you see that the judiciary itself is to blame?
So the first thing about politics, I'm no expert, but I wanted to say was this, that a lot of our women leaders have been wives, friends, proteges, protected persons of male leaders, and that's how, I mean, Mamta may be one of the exceptions. There may be some other exceptions, but Mamta comes straight to my mind.
Yes.
And that's why kudos to her for that.
Yes.
But otherwise, a lot of them have come by virtue of the fact that they've been placed there in a position of strength. So I would not give them the same credit as I would if a person comes on their own strength and their own merit. That's the first aspect. Now come to law. While in India we've had doctors who are women, other professions, architects which are women, but somehow law has been a male bastion. And I have seen that because in our lifetimes we've tried to break that glass ceiling.
Yes.
And I have seen the fact that we did face some bias.
You did face bias.
And that bias has slowly over the years, it's melted. Okay. So we have to look at the positive sign that now that male bastion is being broken, people are a little more open to women lawyers and this has been, for example, compare medicine. They were very happy with women pediatricians. They were very happy with women gynecologists, but they didn't want women surgeons.
That's an important point. But pursuant to the point raised by Monica Arora and you, I'll ask Justice Jaspal Singh, and I'll ask you 2 examples, sir. Now, Indira Nui, who's heading Pepsi, or Chanda Kochar, who headed ICICI Bank, they were very clear in their various interviews when they said that women will be judged as harshly as men, and also criticized if they don't deliver. And in the Northeast, we've got matriarchal societies where women are heading the house, women have right to property, and in many houses, women are the first bread earners. It is a minority, but yes. But when you compete with a man on an equal footing, you are liable to be criticized, and you will also face that same kind of politics. Do you think women as a whole will also need to accept that facet where they'll be criticized and treated as harshly as men judges are?
Well, I entirely agree with those 2 ladies. Again, they rose to that position because of their merit.
Yes.
And after reaching that position, they performed also.
Yes.
That was my objection, to which she took objection.
Yes.
I said merit has to count, and I compared her with a lady judge. And I say this, that you look into the judgments of both of them,
yes,
and you will see the difference between the 2. Merit is most important. yes, there is patriarchal approach.
Yes.
And I am finding it in Hadia's case. I openly say it's the most unfortunate judgment delivered by the Supreme Court. And it shows patriarchal approach. They are still having that closed mind.
Yes.
That a woman of 26 years making a statement that I want to be free is yet, a judge talks of not being a guardian of his wife, and yet he appoints a guardian of that woman. That approach we have to overcome.
That approach we have to
I have a great objection to that.
Yes.
And I entirely agree that women are a great match to every person who is there on merit. But then I don't think at present there is any discrimination on that score. But of course, as I'm saying, that now, not now, during the earlier regime also, the appointments were not always on merit. I'm sorry. They were not during the earlier regime. They are not now even.
Free and frank as always, Justice Jaspal Singh. Before I go to Alkanshri, there a very quick comment from Monica Arora. I want to ask you, and I'll take the Indira Nui debate forward. When everybody was, she was the toast of India when she was made the CEO of PepsiCo, and she said that I have always had this choice to make between work and family, and I have had to choose work because I had to grow here, and the family has had to run and be accommodated. But as a woman, because I have to show results every quarter, and if my company is not showing a profit, then I'll be sacked because my shareholders would want me out. It's never that in the judiciary, once elevated, then at best what can do is criticize in paper columns. So do you think women will face that challenge? Doubly so because it's a patriarchal society. So they have that kind of a challenge there.
With my experience working for the government for the past 3 years,
yes,
what I state is I have always been against reservation for women.
Yes.
But here what I see is, how will you prove your merit and your mettle unless you have cases? This patriarchal mindset does not give you cases except for matrimonial cases or petty matters.
Are also not met?
Actually, clients don't want to go to advocates who are women. Clients want to go to male advocates for especially graver cases.
Yes.
So what I state here is, if you have reservation for women, especially in public prosecutor, and government is the biggest litigant, let government have reservation maybe 10%, 20%, 30% in criminal and civil side in all its panels. Let women come to those panels, have cases, argue those cases, then you judge them on their merit. Unless they have cases, they cannot do so.
So they should get the relevant cases.
Men have time for lobbying, partying and networking. Yeah. At that time, women are taking care of their children and their families.
That's the second time you make this point. So
yes.
I think it's touched a raw nerve somewhere. That's why you make this point. But Alkanshri there, on the corporate side, you rose to become a managing partner of a law firm. You would have faced the same competition from the other gender, which is men, and you could in a sense break the glass ceiling. So how would you see that if you can grow, then why not on the bench?
Actually, I must say that, in my entire experience, I have not really felt being discriminated against.
Even in the law firm side of the business?
Not only that, in arbitrations, international and domestic too in India, I always felt that it's, I do understand, I concede that there is a patriarchal mentality, but I have felt that it's also entirely up to the woman and the lady lawyer to deliver and to conduct herself. It's just a thought of mine. It's just that so many of my friends who were in the class with me at the law faculty, majority of them have not pursued the legal profession. Why not? Why not? So it also depends. The women also have a certain mentality. It sounds terrible, but but they are perhaps not willing to put in the hours as much as a man does. I work like 14 hours. A lot of my male friends are not able to cope up with that.
You have a very important point, Geeta. Luthra, would you agree that relevant cases need to be marked for women to show their merit? Because this is the internal politics of the judiciary when you talk of marking.
See, I don't think so. You can't say equality of opportunity if you talk of equality of opportunity, maybe somebody will say, I would have been a Satalwad or I would have been a Palkiwala if I had that opportunity. I'm sorry, you have to struggle in the system.
As men struggle, women will also.
So you have to struggle, and you can't make this that I have to look after kids. I'm sorry, we can't say this.
Yes.
You can't
so
say
when you
have to, you are there, you are fighting, you are on the battlefield. You have to work. And you can't say, I have X problem or Y problem. Sorry, that facilities, I agree with. Facilities should be there, but over and above,
it has to be a level
field. It has to be a level playing field. You have to fight, whether you get work, you don't get work, where you get work, you prove your mettle. That's why I say women have to be twice as good to do half as well, but we have to be on that level playing field.
We have to be on that level, as always, very free and frank. But indeed, today's episode had every panelist of ours being very free, frank and really opinionated. Thank you so much, Geeta Luthra, Justice Jaspal Singh, Alkan Sri Deher and Monica Arora for sparing your time and joining us on Legally Speaking. That's it for now. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode.